Hey y'all, it's Steve, Hobo With Wood. In this video, we're going to design from start to finish a very simple, easy to assemble lantern. Stay tuned. Alright, so this design was inspired by a friend who was making these with his scroll saw, and he wanted a Grinch-like character to scroll saw. And so we started looking, and of course the Grinch is a copyrighted image, and you have to be careful with that. In fact, if you went online and just copied an image and traced an actual Grinch, well, then you could get in trouble. So I went on to AI. I used Canva. I used Canva's AI, and I asked Canva to. It was funny. I said, create a Grinch face, and it came back with a warning: cannot do that. You know, it's copyrighted, but can't do that. And I said, okay. Create me a Grinch-like face that is laser friendly, and it did do that. And it created something similar to this, but not exactly. Because even though I asked for a laser friendly file or design that I could cut out, it still had too many pieces attached to each other, and it was too fragile. It wasn't going to work. So I had to go in and separate pieces, move pieces around, create the silhouette or the outline that I wanted that would look good backlit like that. And so currently, I've got one of the LED multicolor pucks in there, and that's why you see it flickering and changing colors. I can't find the remote control, or else I'd put it on a single color. But the desk is a mess. We ain't going to dig. So this single lantern is made from one piece of 12 by 19 3mm MDF from Craft Closet. It was pre-finished both sides. It was perfect for a design like this, and the color, you couldn't have asked for a better color for a Grinch-like lantern. But this single lantern all slides together. I glued the top on and not the bottom. You could have glued the bottom on and not the top, just so as long as you still had access to get into it to change the light, turn the light puck on and off if you didn't get the remote control, change batteries on it. Or if you're actually going to put a candle in there, get in there and light it. Don't recommend doing that. This is, combustible. But this is, I think, about about 6.5 inches tall, give or take, and about 4.5 inches wide. It could work on a desktop, as you see that sitting on top of the rolly there, and you see how the rolly's big, and it's not that large. You can do it on a desktop, on the coffee table, or the MDF I wouldn't leave outside. It's not all weather friendly. But if you wanted to use this pattern and do it with a scroll saw and do it with cedar, or if you wanted to scroll it up and do it, you could do that. It's a very, very, very simple pattern, and we're going to design this from start to finish right now in LightBurn. And maybe you don't want a Grinch. Maybe you want something else. This could be a template that you make that you could use for a seasonal type lantern creations. You could do Halloween, Christmas, Easter, all kinds of things. But this is a very, very simple design. It's already online on hobowithwood.com if you don't want to go through the design process yourself. But this one's one that's so easy that it's kind of crazy. But hey, it's only $2.49. If you want to save a little bit of time, go over there and jump on it. It's already it is designed in LightBurn, so it's a scalable file. If you decide you want to make it bigger, you can. If you want to make it smaller, you can. Because the slots you'll see it's all resizable. It's a really, really slick design. So let's go over to LightBurn and take a look at the design, and then we'll go create it. Wrong camera. That's the cubicle. Wrong camera. There we go. That's LightBurn. All right, so as you can see, this is set up for cutting out of a single 12 by 19 piece of material. I've got two sides, that are with the slots at the bottom, two slides with slots at the top, so that you can see they slide together. The slots interlock with each other, and then this is the top and bottom, and these are two little inserts or that I glue where these pieces are outlined. So they're alignment blocks. These happen to be the same size as this distance right here between the slots, because from that corner to that corner, which is in this case 3.6 inches, is what this right there, that's going to sit inside there. So by aligning this within these areas and gluing it up, then that just centers the top centers the top up. And then this one is I've got set up for the bottom, and my LED puck sits down inside there, and that drops it down another 3 millimeters below the image. And if you look, the image is a little high. It's not centered on the lantern, and that's so that it is above the puck. I didn't want to look at the puck when I'm looking at it at eye level. I didn't want to see any of that light behind it. I only wanted the illumination to be seen. Now, if you're standing up looking down at it at a 45-degree angle, you can still see the puck. But this just helped when you're looking at it at eye level. But let's take a look at creating this complete design and how easy it is to do. So we're going to go to a new window in LightBurn. And if you're going to design this to be cut out of a 12 by 19 piece of material, that's what I start with. I start with a 12 by 19 toolpath. And let's go to inches, and it's unlocked aspect ratio. It is 19 by 12. So there is my material. Let's put it in the home position. There we go. Now, if that's the material I need to work with, now I need to start figuring out how big my panels can be and still be able to get everything out of this one piece of material. So I'm going to come over and grab a rectangle tool, and I'm going to just draw out a rectangle. That was a random size. And I'm not going to, I know what my size is because I've already done it, but I'm showing you how I determined what the size was going to be. So unlocked aspect ratio, let's start with, in fact, I started with a 5 by 7. I said 5 by 7, and then put it down here in the bottom corner, home position, and then I moved it up 3 millimeters and over 3 millimeters, holding my control button and my arrow movement. I've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's where I would place that, start cutting it out of this material. And then I look to see, can I get 4 of those on here? And I do 0. No, you see there with 0 off or 0x spacing, it's 4 of those is going to be obviously 4 times 5 is 20 inches. There it is. Total width is 20. And my material is only 19 and a half. So can't do that. So, all right. I know my material is 19 and a half millimeters or 19 inches. Come on, get together now. It's 19 inches wide. So if I come up here and I put in my width 19 inches, then I want to subtract 6 millimeters. That's 3 millimeters on this side and 3 millimeters on this side. So 19 subtract 6 mm. Get the cursor out of the way. So that's 19 subtract 6 mm. That tells the LightBurn to subtract 6 millimeters from 19 inches because I'm in the inches mode over here. Now, that is one rectangle. I can divide that by 4. And that, if I place that right in the corner again, and I move it up 3 millimeters, 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, and then I do my array. and I do 4 of them and say OK. There's 4 pieces. Put it in a cut path so you can see it a little better. There's 4 pieces, using the most I can out of that material and still have a good little margin of error for any damage to the perimeter or any irregularities. But now, if that's the size, the width that I can do, is my height going to be okay? So let's look at what the very top of the lantern size is going to be. So I want to do, let's grab our rule and measure that. It's 4.6909. 4.6909. So if I draw out a square until at 4.6909, lock our aspect ratio 4.6909, missed the 09. There we go. Then that is the size that's going to be needed to put over the top, and that just goes right to the edge. That doesn't even give us a little bit of an overhang, which we want and need. But we can see we're almost to the edge of our material, and if I put my anchor point down here in the bottom left, puts that right where it's at, and then if I want to do a 4mm overhang on each side, that's additional 8mm. So, and I'm still in inches mode over here. I could just change this to millimeters and just say add 8mm plus 8. And now you see I'm above the edge of the material. I can't get there. I cannot get that much material out of this. So these are going to need to be a wee bit smaller. I got my maximum width, but now my height is too tall. But how tall is this? How much did I miss it by? If I come right here and I measure from this corner to that toolpath, it's 3.15, and then plus I would want to come in another 3, so I'm about 6mm too large. So if I come down here to these guys and I have my material anchor point at the bottom center, and I want to unlock my aspect ratio, come to my height, and tell it to reduce by, we're going to go ahead and reduce it by 7mm. Subtract 7. All right, that pulls the top down. And now if I grab this, actually before I need to change its dimensions, period. Let's grab our rule. What is this? This is now, in fact, did that even change? I don't even think that changed. Go back to inches. It was 49.609. Yeah, it's still the same. 4.6909 or 119.15mm. So this now I actually won't need to change. If I bring this down to that corner there we go. Now you see it fits on my material, and it's going to give me the extra overhang for the top and the bottom. I need to duplicate that. Control D, duplicate it, bring that over here, put that right there. I am docking all these right together because I'm not going to be worried about kerf on these, and when you don't worry about kerf, you can dock these up against each other and cut them out in piece of cake. Now I need to come in here and I need to create some slots to interlock these together, and I need to do that before I worry about cutting my internal pieces for alignment, because the size, the placement of my slots is what's going to determine the size of those other pieces. So let's look at a couple ways to do this. I'm going to ungroup this because it's all grouped. Just ungroup it. All right. I'm going to select this one. My anchor point is at the bottom center, and I'm going to do an offset. I want to do at least a 3. No, let's do 4mm. 4mm inside here and 4, so it's going to be just an offset of 4mm. Offset of 4, and do not delete the original. And that was inward, 4 millimeters. Say OK. Now hold Shift and select the original one and align it to the bottom. All right. Now let's come back here, and if our material is 3 millimeters, I'm going to come back with another offset. This time I'm going to do 3 mil. Say OK, and align it to the bottom. Again. There we go. Now, there's the beginning of a slot. I need to take I'm going to grab a guideline. I'm going to bring guideline down, and I'm going to select that guideline and tell it to go to the vertical or the horizontal center of that largest one. There we go. Put it on the same tool cut path. There we go. And so now there bisects the middle of the largest piece, so that's how tall, and there's the size of my slot. And I can duplicate that by just simply grabbing a rectangle and come up here and get my crosshairs and draw a rectangle down till I get my other crosshairs on the opposing. There it is, done. Duplicate that and move it over. Zoom in tight, grab my, there we go, our snapping cursor, and snap it right there. And then I can get rid of all that, get rid of that, and I can come up here and get rid of these two up here. And now I've got those two slots. First I'm going to grab them both, group them, duplicate them, move it over here. I'm not worried about position right now. I've got those out of the way, so I've got a duplicate. Now I can take these. That's my originals. Actually, you know what? I need to select the outer perimeter, the big one, A. Subtract B. And now I've got slots on the bottom. Here I'm going to duplicate these again. Move that over here out the way. I'll grab those. Center it on that rectangle. Center and make sure it should be at the bottom. I didn't move it. So now I can, I'm not sure which one I selected first, so let's go to the Boolean Assistant. And is it that one or that one? That's it. Say OK. Now these I need to put at the top center. So top, all right, so center rather, right? Center and then the top. And duplicate them again and put them at the top of this one, the center of this one. Good. Now I can do this in one subtraction by grouping both of those, group it, and then select both of those and group it, and that's A. Subtract B, and oh, but wait a minute, that joined those together. You don't want to do that. Control Z. So don't want to do those as a whole. So ungroup that. We're going to ungroup that pair, and we'll select each into one, each individual piece. And I did it wrong order, so we'll use the Boolean Assistant and grab that one and say OK. So now it's A, the big rectangle. Hold Shift, select that, and that subtract. There we go. So now I've created two that interlock at the bottom half, two that interlock at the top half. I've got my top pieces, and now that I know the size where it's going to interlock there, I can grab my rule, come over here and find out what that is. It's 105.15. 105.15 millimeters, 105.15 millimeters. So if I draw out a rectangle, or actually be a square, perfect square, and tell it to be 105.15, I didn't have my aspect ratio locked, 105.15, and double check that by grabbing that, and yep, that's it. So that will sit, well, yeah, that'll sit inside there and give me the dimensions that I want for that inner piece. If I dock that right there, duplicate it, move it over, and then dock it right there. And then I'm going to look at my puck, my light puck. And I need to check a couple of things. I need to look at the height of the puck and the width of the puck. And I measure it's coming in at about 31 mil, give or take. And then the diameter is right at 70. So around 31 and 70, it's probably more like 30. But we're going to come in here and I'm going to draw a rectangle and tell it to be 70 and 31 and put it on a random toolpath, and we'll put it in fill. It is in fill mode. All right. But now there's my puck. And I can take that and grab my snapping cursor right there and snap it to where I get my crosshair right there. When I get that circle, that is where the puck's going to sit. So now I can use that if you could put it on a toolpath, but I've got it on a darker one so you guys can see it. Now you have an idea of where you want to put your artwork so that it's not going to be below or showing your puck. And you see we got plenty of room. But this also tells me that if the width is right at 70 mil, I come up here and get me a circle. Hold shift and draw out a perfect circle. And tell that to be 70 mil. And then tell it to go to the center of that and put it all on the cut path. Now that will group and that will cut out, and I'll glue it on here, and then my puck will sit in there. I'm going to duplicate this, put it on another toolpath, and tell it to go to center. And one more time, we'll go ahead and duplicate that one, Control D, and tell that to go to center of that one. I'll engrave those so I have alignment marks where these need to glue up, and I'll glue these two pieces to these. These simply interlock and slide together. I will glue one, either the top or the bottom on, leaving one of them loose so that I can change the batteries, turn off, on, do whatever I need to access the puck. Can't ask for an easier, simpler design. Now, we just designed this so that it is usable for a 12 by 19 piece of material. What if you don't have that? Or what if you want to make it bigger? You don't want it to be this small. You did want to have it at 5 by 7 or larger for each panel. It's easy to do. You won't be able to use it on your 12 by 19 material. That's okay, because your goal is to make this whatever your total size is going to be. So how big do you want that to be? Do you want it to be 5 by 7? All right, then we're going to come over here and grab a rectangle, and we're going to create a 5 by 7 rectangle. Unlock that and say 5 by 7. That was close, but there we go. So there is my new target size. I want to have these pieces that size. All right. So I'm going to put this one on a different toolpath, number 27. Turn that one off for a minute so we don't see it. Then I'm going to grab all of this, and we'll go ahead and group it and turn that 27 back on. Or no, there we go. So now we can see that 5 by 7 piece. So if I come in here and grab that selection, and and begin to scale it up. I'm not holding control. Just going to, because it doesn't matter. I'm just going to scale that up until I get it to about 5 by 7. And it's going to be, the aspect ratio is a little off on it. So we'll get it to where it's about the same width, and then I can come over here and scale it down like that. And now that's really close to a 5 by 7 piece. All right. So now I'm going to come over here and hold shift and select this layer. That selects that 5 by 7 and delete it. Select it and delete it. Now, how thick is your, all these are grouped, so we got to ungroup it all. There we go. And now, how big is your slots? How thick is your material? Well, first, let's see what this got scaled to. When we scaled it up, it scaled it to 3.19 millimeters. So if you were going to make this out of bigger stuff and you needed it to be 1/4 inch, that's 3.19, and let's go to, I want to go to 1/4 inch. So 0.1258 inches is the original 0.1258. Tools, resize slots and selection. 0.1258 is the old material thickness. I need to change my slot width, and I want to make it 1/4 inch. And say apply. Now, look how thin this got over here. All right, say okay. If I'm worried about that being too fragile, I want you to see how difficult this is to correct. Our puck size even got expanded. Our puck size was, let's put our anchor point at the bottom, was 70 by 31. There we go. So there's the original puck size. We got a whole lot of room here. Well, now that we've scaled this up and made this a little too fragile, how do we account for that? Easy. We're going to move them in. And we're going to set our move tab to 5 mil. So shift arrow is 5 mil. So let's grab this one and go to our node editing. And we're going to grab all of these 4 nodes. We're going to shift and arrow to the right. Then we'll come over here and grab these 4. Don't get in the very corner, just the 4 for the slot. Shift tab or shift arrow to the left. All right. So that's done. Then I just need to come over here, and I could actually just duplicate that one 4 times because they're the same. They just rolled over. But in fact, if you wanted, because this is not going to be out of the same material, not out of the 12 by 19, you could just grab all of those and delete them, and come back over here to your array tool and do 3 copies, 4 columns. Count 3 copies, counting your original. So that's done. Say okay. Don't group them. Say okay. And if you need to see that you've got different ones, well, just rotate that. There you go. So there's, you got your top, or your bottom half and your top half. We'll double check our pieces now, because when you change your size, these pieces are going to change as well. Your circle's not, but your squares will. So check the rule and check this right here, and that's 98.95. Say okay. 98.95. Put our anchor point back in the middle. Aspect ratio locked. 98.95. 98.95. 98.95, and 98.95. All right, so that's all adjusted. And just for giggles, let's check and make sure our overhang's still what we want it to be. I'm going to duplicate that, bring the duplicate over here, and then grab this and duplicate that, and I'm going to bring it down here to the bottom. I'm going to grab my snapping cursor, which will be the right there with a little circle through it. Then come up here and look for it again right there. And then let's check our overhang. If I come over here and draw, holding my left cursor button and drawing out, that's giving me a 4mm overhang. I'm okay with that. I might, since this one's a much bigger lantern, I would make that a little bit larger. It's totally personal preference. Wouldn't matter if you came in here and changed that, because this, you've already determined that it needs to be this size here. Keep that centered in here, and you can make these as big as you want and have as much overhang as you like. This design is very, very, very simple. Like I said, I've glued my top on, so I have easy access to the base. You could invert that, glue the bottom on, and reach down inside there. Easy peasy. And then that'll line up and get everything centered up. You're good to go. Again, real easy, simple design. It's already on the website, hobowithwood.com, in a 12x19 single piece of material. This material in this pre-finished green 3mm MDF is available on Craft Closet. I don't have a code for them. I don't have any discount codes for them. It is the only MDF that I've ever encountered that cuts extremely clean, and nice, clean, easy drops with a 10-watt diode laser without a lot of scorching and burning. And you can see how clean this is. It was pre-finished, and look how clean that is. Super, super clean. And it's finished on both sides. So I'm really, really happy with this material. I have to say a shout out to Russ. Thank you for turning me on to the Craft Closet. That was something that I never would have purchased myself with my previous experiences with MDFs. But now, after encountering Craft Closet MDF, I highly recommend it. Again, I do not have a link for it, but having talked to them, you're better off buying it from their website, which is craftcloset.com, instead of buying it on Amazon. It is on Amazon, but you get better prices and probably better service getting it direct through Craft Closet. So, hobowithwood.com, if you don't want to do it yourself, I just showed you how easy and how simple this is. It's not rocket science. It's really, really simple math. And you can design it for your material, or you can design it and make it as big as you like. So thanks for watching. I'm Steve, Hobo with Wood, and I'll see you in the next video.